JD Pickell was asked recently by On3 and was talking on On3 about Nico Iamaleava. And he says that Tennessee is trying to challenge him to be more of a vocal leader. And here's the exact quote. The headline that I've been told as it pertains to Nico Iamaleava this spring is that he is being challenged by Josh Heupel. Now, that's not a negative thing, he says. He says that just means that you see greatness in a guy and you want to bring it out of him. They want him to be a guy that's a tone setter for this team offensively. Not that he has to be Brian Cushing throwing his head into helmets and running around with a bloody forehead every spring practice. We don't need that, but they feel like with what they lost from a vocal point leadership-wise a season ago with guys like Dylan Sampson no longer there, Cooper Mays, an offensive lineman that set the tone, they would love to see Nico kind of get out of his comfort zone in some sense and be that vocal leader to a degree. Not that he has to be the only one, not that he has to be the vocal leader, but be more of a vocal leader in some sense. Not a knock on the guy. I think it's just a matter of being a second-year starting quarterback in major college football. For the record, I think he can do that.
Okay. Hot or cold? 2 questions. 1, what do you think of the comment? And 2, if it's true, what do you think of Nico?
Where do you stand? Hot or cold? Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters. 50 years in East Tennessee. CityHeatandAir.com. On Off the Hook Sports.
I'm cold on this comment. I think it's off base. I think it's by a national reporter. And I'm sorry, I know people listen to national reporters. I think Josh Pate does a great job, but your local reporters are going to know more. And I've been told by people within the program that with the exception of when he first ran out there as a true freshman, he was a little mumble mouth because he was unsure of the play call. I've been told he absolutely rules the huddle, that he's an assertive guy, and this is somebody that's been in the huddle. I'm cold on this comment. I think it's way off base.
Well, Dave, one of the A to Z Sports, I'm going to give them a shout out because they wrote a column on this. And they also cited you later in the column because they cited an interview when you did with Cooper Mays, when Cooper straight up said that Nico does have some of the intangibles that Hendon Hooker had. And now I don't know, Cooper, you could tell me if Cooper Mays, you think he was being nice. It's hard for me to say Nico has Hendon Hooker's level intangibles. Hendon Hooker was like, the players almost feared him, didn't they? If they didn't perform to a certain degree.
Yeah, but if he's a 10 and Nico's an 8, I mean, you could say Casey Clausen was an 8, but I'd take Casey Clausen every day of the week, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would take Casey Clausen every day of the week. I totally.
Peyton's a 10, Casey's an 8, but I'd take Casey Clausen right now to be Tennessee's next quarterback.
Yeah, no, and that's probably where he is. But are we sure he's at an 8? See, this is why I'm kind of hot on this comment. Now, JD Pickell at the end started talking about Nico showing that he can do that because of the way he balled out against Ohio State and the way he put his body on the line. I believe that. But I didn't feel like I saw most of the year Nico grabbing the team by their throat. And see, where I come in on this is I always go back to the 98 team. Now, T. Martin was a junior, not a freshman. But his first year starting, even though he wasn't a captain, it did feel like T. Martin was kind of the leader of that offense, didn't it? Pretty quickly. He felt like he had a lot better command of the offense pretty quickly on, even though he wasn't playing well early, but he was at least vocally like getting guys to come with him, wasn't he? In that moment,
I can roll with that. I think the players naturally wanted to support him for a couple of different reasons. One, they felt like he was good and that Peyton Manning got a lot of the credit for the success that they had in 97 with the SEC championship. But I'll offer this too. Not to be off base here, but the majority of players are African-American, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't you think there was a part of them that wanted to make sure T had success because he was African-American and Peyton wasn't? I think there was some of that going on. Nobody's ever told me that, but I've always wondered that aloud.
That's highly possible. I mean, it's highly possible. I thought more, if people are saying nobody feared T, that was Al Wilson's team. No, I'm not. That was Al Wilson's team. It was not T. Martin's team. What I'm saying is T. Martin showed moxie in that season. Like no one's going to deny that T. Martin had moxie, right? And yeah, and Nico did not show any moxie last year at all, really, until the Ohio State game. That's the difference I'm saying, guys. I do see your point with T. I felt like many players want to, and not just I don't just want to bring his race into it, but I want to bring his background too. But T. Martin had guys, read the story. He had a really messed up background with the friends of. He lost, I think, 12 friends to gun violence in Mobile.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, just a really. They were at a hotel in Georgia for the Georgia game in '96, I believe. Maybe it was '97. They were when they were at home, but either way, Peyton Manning and T. Martin were roommates that year. And Peyton Manning talks about it like T. Martin gets a call the night before the Georgia game, like, yeah, your other best friend just passed away in gun violence in Mobile. Like, he had multiple players telling him. I mean, he had multiple instances when he was at Tennessee of finding out that he lost a friend to gun violence, like the night before a game. And
now if we're going to compare T and Nico, we have to include this. There is no way that Nico can repeat T's second year. If that's the case as a starter, that's a problem, because in '98, T. Martin had 144 quarterback rating. Excuse me. He dropped to 125 in '99. Nico, listen, if last year was his T year, which is kind of similar to '98, first half of the season, they didn't put much on him. They were kind of worried. Second half of the season, I thought he played really well. If Nico has that type of year where he's the same as he was last year or worse, that's a problem.
Yes. Two things working in his favor. One, I think the talent around him is a little bit better going into this year, whereas with T, the talent around him was worse going into '99. He lost Peerless Price. And the other point is, this is where the Joey Halsley test comes in. What happened from '98 to '99, Dave? Tennessee went from T. Martin to David Cutcliffe to Randy Sanders. And no disrespect to Randy Sanders, but go back and watch that '99 team. They tried to make T. Martin more of a pocket passer that airs it out, and Cutcliffe utilized the run game a lot better. And so I think that with that in mind, yes, I think T. Martin was I think Nico Iamaleava should improve, but that's going to be a test of Joey Halsley more than Nico.
No, there's a lot of truth to that. On the message board, T was a game manager. We had a great defense. He just had to not screw it up. Well, I would argue that he made a great throw in '98 in the national championship game, a great run against Syracuse. Now, he didn't screw up games like Florida that the defense essentially won. Now, I will say this, Derek. It's the South Carolina game when he went 23 of 23 and set the record for most consecutive completions. They threw every short pass possible, right?
Yes, but I'm totally breaking with the game manager move, because the first game of the year at Syracuse, where he did not play well, go back and watch, he played poorly. But we just talked about had a 55-yard run and then led a game-winning drive. That's not game managing. And then, Dave, what about the SEC title game where Tennessee falls behind 14-10? What does he do? There was a 50-yard touchdown bomb to Peerless Price. They get the ball back. Then there was another touchdown pass to seal the deal. The idea that T was a game manager when, like, yes, he wasn't Peyton Manning or anything like that, but whenever Tennessee needed T. Martin to make a play, he made a play.
Okay, but let me ask you this, and it'll be brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. If we're comparing Nico and T. Martin, is Nico a disappointment? 30 seconds.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American made. Ted Russell Ford is your Super Dealer, just in time for Truck Month. Save up to $5,350 on this new Ford F-150 XLT Hybrid, or save up to $7,000 on this new Ford Expedition. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or...
Again, 10 years from now, if we're debating who's better, T. Martin or Nico Iamaleava, Nico was a disappointment.
Yes. At that point, Nico was a disappointment.
I don't think we'll have that conversation, and I don't believe that he needs to be a more vocal leader. I think that is that's silliness by JD Pickell.